My next little project is a Panasonic DMR BWT 740, which is some sort of fancy Blu-ray player and recorder, and it's also, as I found out, got a hard drive in it. So, what's it say? Operating instructions, Blu-ray disc recorder. But it looks like the other thing I didn't even realise when I purchased this not working is it's actually got RF in, so it must work as like a PVR. So you can actually record maybe onto Blu-ray or onto hard drive. It's also got connection to the internet. And we've got HDMI and a basic video input, so that could be handy if you want to transfer, maybe possibly you could transfer videos or some other composite video source onto Blu-ray. It has a little note on it: my recorder stopped working during a power outage. Some clever person might be able to fix it and use it. So I thought for $10 it's worth a risk. The remote costs more than that. It's even got the batteries in it. God, surely they're not the original ones, because according to the label on the back, this was made in 2014. June 2014. So no idea what's wrong with it, whether that means the power is not working. I had a power cord here somewhere. Whether the power went off. Well, I think it said the power, was it the power outage? So the power went off, whether it means it didn't come on as in it's got no power, or it doesn't, has some other fault, I don't know. But I can't see anything obvious in the power supply, no bulgy capacitors. Could mean that little capacitor in the primary's gone open circuit, or the chip has failed. Is it even a chip? It might be a transistor. Have to be a chip, wouldn't it? Because it's got to run a whole switch mode. It does have some sort of surge protector, so it's pretty unlikely anything to do with surges, as people like to think. So we've got power on it. I can hear, oh, we've got something coming on. Please wait. The dreaded please, Panasonic, please wait. I used to hate this because a lot of these, the earlier DVD type versions of these things, the decks would die in them, and you'd have to test the thing, please wait. 10 minutes later you could actually use the unit, check the thing didn't work, then you'd have to put a new deck in it, and then you'd be waiting again. And if you did any other tests or setup, you'd be constantly waiting all the time. It's got a little fan in it, so this actually has no power problem. I can hear the Blu-ray drive was making some sort of noises. I don't hear the hard drive running. Whether it should be or not is another thing. This was made in May 2014. Has it got a size here somewhere? 500 gigabyte. And the power, it's one of these green power things, so I think some of these, well, the unit hasn't switched on, so it probably hasn't fired up. I can hear it now, I think. Yep, we have hard, yep, that's hard drive for sure. So one of these green power ones shut down when they haven't been used for a bit. Now the Blu-ray's making noises. Can I eject that? Yeah, well, something's working on it. D3, I don't know what that means. And just checking the disc. That's got an SD card slot on it. As well as a USB on the front here, so I guess I better hook it up to a TV. And where's the power for the TV? That's the next problem. So what I found with it is that there's no HDMI output on this unit. Everything else seems to be operating. The Blu-ray drive seems to be reading the disc. Hard drive spins up, I don't know for sure if it's playing anything. But yeah, we're just coming up with no signal on the TV. I checked the TV with another unit just to make sure with a set-top box. No problem. It's possible this is some sort of higher output, but it says like higher resolution since it's Blu-ray and HD and all that sort of stuff. But the box I was using was a HD box, and that came up on the TV alright, and it does say in the manual that it should adjust to whatever the TV resolution is. So it looks like something in the main board is probably blown. So that could be a bit of an interesting one, but yeah, no output of video at all on this thing. Or sound for that matter, but the TV's just saying no signal. So I don't know an awful lot about the HDMI signals, but maybe it's a good time to actually hook an oscilloscope up and find out what should be coming out of these things. Looking at the actual back of the connector on the board here, it looks like quite a few terminals are earth, and the others go to some little, I don't know if they're little buffers or something there. Some sort of little chips or resistor networks or something. But yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one. I might do a bit of research on the internet, see if I can find any reason for these dying. Might even be worth pulling the board out and having a quick look. I'd say the fact the drive and the Blueray drive seem to be running means all the voltages are still working in this thing. It's not some sort of power rail missing, but it is possible. So yeah, I'll have to have a bit more of a play around and see what I find. Looks like to pull this thing apart, I've undone there's 4 screws. One there, one there, one there. One right up the other end here to hold the hard drive in. That's now sort of loose. But it looks like I might have to take the front panel off as well, or at least move it out of the way. So it's got a clip on the top and on the ends, and just clips underneath by the look of it. But which order we do them in is a whole other thing. Can't seem to get this end one off because the metalwork's coming with it. Oh, if I push it backward a bit, the clip comes off. Now this one, it doesn't clip back on. I thought it had. Not the easiest things to work on, and then just should have to flick these clips up underneath. Sometimes you need a bit of a screwdriver while you're holding the other ones off. It's coming slowly. The other whole front panel unplugs, circuit board in there, and then we should be able to lift this. I assume that hard drive connector just wobbles out. Yeah, it comes up. We also got a plug for this other little board, whatever that little, almost looks, yeah, it looks like a Wi-Fi board. It does have FCC something on there, I think, or does it? Oh, maybe not. Oh yeah, antenna 1, oh yeah, it's got little plug-in antenna things as well as little ones etched on the board by the look of it. So might as well just have a quick look. How does that one come off? Looks like there's a little clip there. That's one of the problems with this stuff, is you've got to get up to date with all the different connector types. Is that a... no, it doesn't lift. Pretty sure you've got to move that out of the way, but maybe not. Something's lifting. Just got to be a bit careful of these things. I'm not sure that's... oh yeah, there it goes. It's just a matter of lifting it. And where'd my screwdriver go? Under the hard drive, of course. Might want to pull that SATA connector and the connector for the DVD. Has that got a little, it does have a clip on, I think it, press that side in. And it still doesn't want to come out. Getting worse than the automotive connectors with these things these days. And there's a fan, I think. And looks like we've got to completely dismantle the back panel as well. I should probably unplug the HDMI. Unscrew the optical. The RCA. HDMI. And of course these slightly different screws. So HDMI was like a little metal thread, which I think we've got another one on the RF connections. Yep. Pull out the power. There's that fan. I think it's only connected to the back panel. Got another screw in the power socket. Not 100% sure this back comes off, but it looks like it probably does. Should in theory come off, as it just sort of held in place. Just press fitted. don't think I'm going to take that fan off, but maybe I do. Should just come with it, I would think. And the fan's loose. So it should just, you just got to press carefully on that, push the end, one of the ends in, and that comes off. I've got screws everywhere. And I should be able to get those back screws out. Looks like you might have to pull this board to get the other one. I can probably sneak the screwdriver in behind just carefully, not to... It really wants to push on that connector. I think I probably should remove that. So it's got to be flicked a bit. Does not want to come out, of course. I'm making these connectors harder and harder to use. And finally, after all that work, I hope that's a little heatsink. It is. There's a massive sort of microprocessor type thing in there. And I think it's just got some muck off this, probably heatsink paste or something to that, because it's got something, almost looks like it's blown the chip, but I think that's just some goo on there. I think that's actually writing on it. Got a lot of flux on this board or something. Is that flux, or has someone spilt something in it? Right around that back panel area, which is a tad odd. Usually they're well cleaned in the factory. There's some around that connector as well. Maybe this one just didn't get a good bath. Some around this other USB socket. So there's not much to see. It looks like the HDMI goes straight through those, whatever they are. There's another set of them. Oh no, they're not actually in place. A little interface chips or resistor networks or something, all the way straight into this chip. So it's got some sort of stuff on it. Yeah, some sort of muck on it. I assume to transfer the heat to this little grey silicon thing here. So it's not a good sign. Really, there's not much can be fixed on this. If we've got no HDMI output, we may well have a dead chip in it. It's only one electrolytic surface mount on the whole board. So that IC 51001, 51001, 51001, however you want to say it, is possibly shot. Don't think there's any other real settings, so it's possible a power surge or something's done something to that, or just taking the power off it. God knows how they're attached to the board. Some sort of horrible surface mount stuff, so these might get some sort of dry joints or something, just from heat expansion and contraction. You can see all the little through hole stuff under there, so there's really nothing in these things these days. Just a bunch of surface mount chips. So it's much like a computer motherboard or something. Hardly any passive components at all. A few little inductor things. Not even that many resistors and caps. I guess if you added up all those surface mount components, there's quite a bit, but a few little chips and transistors and stuff, but very little peripheral sort of componentry. And yeah, HDMI, you can see all these tracks go straight from it, or via those little things, straight into our main chip. So there's probably a fair chance this thing is not redeemable, but I might have a look on the internet, might be able to get a new board for it, or else part out the rest of it, I guess. I've got a good, for $10, a 500 gig hard drive will be handy for something, even just for backing stuff up, like YouTube videos or something. So if that works, at least I got my money's worth. I could always sell the drive out of it, assuming these things last long enough for the drives to fail, or the power supply. So I'll have a look, see what I can find out. Okay, so the main board number, or digital board as this is called, is this SJB0084 or something similar to it. Now, that might just be part of the the board layout. It's got SEP0084A on the other side. So I'm not sure if that's, but the actual part number of the board, since they're opposite or different on each side. But the one I looked up online had a similar number to that, and they wanted about $320, which is absolutely ridiculous, because I don't think these units sold for much more than $400 new. So it's the typical sort of parts are available, but they're a complete rip-off, and it writes the unit off. So I might have a bit of a look at this HDMI port. I've found a pinout of what these ports actually have on them. So there's 5 volts and these data lines. I think there's also some sort of line to say that a device is there or something, to let the other device know that it's actually plugged into something. Because I mean, it's possible somewhere there's a little fusible link or something on this board, but I might as well, since I've never really bothered having a play with HDMI, might be time to actually find out on the technical side how it's actually set up, what we can do to actually measure stuff there. I assume with an oscilloscope at least you can see some sort of data, and I think there's clock lines as well as there's a 5 volt line, which of course could be taken out if it's got a fusible of some sort. So I might as well have a look at that. I mean, I'm still suspect it may well be this big chip that's playing up. You know, maybe just cooling down because the power went off was enough to break some of these solder joints or something. But it's possible it's something completely different. So it might be worth finding out. It would be nice to make, I found a couple of sort of HDMI testers online that don't just test cables but actually test the signals coming out of them. Starting about $50 to buy one of those. I think one of them's no longer available, but there's one with a few LEDs on it. But it's probably possible to just make something up with a few transistors that you could actually plug in here. Just has a LED to show there's 5 volts there, and then a few other transistors that run off the data lines and just flicker or whatever to show there's something going on there. I'm not sure how good an LED would work at doing that, but maybe there's some other way of interfacing to an LED. But even just maybe cutting a lead open and putting an LED on the 5 volt line, and then just having the rest of the cables terminated in a terminal block or something, or just bare ends or whatever, so you can put your oscilloscope on them, might be enough. So I might chop an HDMI lead up, cut one end off it and separate all the conductors, and that might be the easiest way just to check these things out. It does have a bit of dust or something in there. I wonder if there's something stuck in there. I doubt that would cause it. Don't know what I'm seeing in there. There's something in there by the look of it, but I don't think that's the cause of our problem. The pins all look pretty good in there. Where's my fine screwdriver? Just in case there is some foreign matter in there. Or is that just part of the metal? That's really hard to tell. I think it's just part of the actual metalwork I'm seeing in there, which is rather odd if part of the socket sticks up like that. But there's a couple of little tongues in there just to probably hold the plug solid, so that's nothing. I thought it was a bit of white stuff in there. So yeah, we'll put the thing back together, I think, for now, to get power back into this board. And I can access quite a few of the pins from above, if not all of them, through these little plated through hole things. So I should be able to put an oscilloscope probe on those and a multimeter and just see if we can find anything obvious there. If there is any sort of signal coming out of the chip trying to talk to anything or anything like that. Probably don't even need to screw this in, just hook the connectors back up. Don't really need the back cover on this. I don't know if it'll run. Possible that these fans, because they got a sensor, it may not be happy having the fan unplugged. That's just our optical output. I don't think it'll know that's not there. And the other thing is possibly it won't like running without a hard drive in it. That may set off something. I might just plug the front panel in. And see what it does. Might as well hook up the power and see if the thing's happy or not. It's bound to come up with some sort of error code or something, know what these things are like. It's possible we also have to have this board earthed to the case. It shouldn't really matter, but this modern stuff does some weird stuff. Okay, let's turn her on. seeing anything, which is not a good sign. Power plugs in. Got no hard drive. We've got the front panel seemingly connected. Maybe I need to push the front panel on a little bit better, although it doesn't feel like it's sitting right. I'd say the SD socket here, that hasn't gone in properly. This board, I just need to fit that board in a bit better, I think, because it's sitting up a bit. Okay, be back in a sec. Okay, I'll put one screw back in this board just at the front here and reseated the board with the SD card slot and stuff in the right place, and we've got a please wait coming up, so that's something on here. So we'll see whether it goes much further than that, or if it's gonna be a pain, but I might see if I can get the multimeter and find the 5 volts that should be here. It should make a convenient earth. But this is very fine stuff, very hard to connect to without shorting something out. Nothing there. There's a little capacitor or fusible looking thing there. 2 volts, so that's a bit odd. Nothing on that bit. Nothing on that bit. Some little chip-like thing there, I don't know if that's anything to do with it. We've got these other lines, which, if they're data lines, I would assume would have, interesting, 2.4 volts as well, would have something, so they all seem to be around the 2.5 volts. The fact it's got that there would suggest something's happening. I take it that's probably ground. Can't see anything. So I'm not sure where the 5 volts is meant to be. I'll have to double check which pin it's on. I think it should be up that end somewhere. I think most of that board is a ground plane. We've got a line coming back up here. There's 5 volts on that bit. But is that connected back to the socket? It goes into this chip type thing here, which looks to be ground. Something. Once these other pins, mostly ground. I think there's one little capacitor thing there. There's another capacitor thing there, which goes to this little point here. Nothing. Try not to touch that other cap when I do it. Nothing. So that is odd, it seems to have 5 volts in, but no further. So this is where a circuit would be handy. The 5 volts should, I'm guessing, come out through there. Which is nothing. That's the most likely pin out of this chip. It comes in on one side and out the other. That must then go down to ground. That's the ground. Yeah, well, this is a big ground pad here, I think. So how does it get into the actual connector? I think I'll have to go and find the pin number that it should be on. It may well be there. I'll find an oscilloscope and just see if I can see anything there. If the oscilloscope wants to come up with a trace at some point. We're not put on any mode, that's right, normal. Okay, now this oscilloscope's running. There's always some switch pressed on them. I think that's probably, well, that's definitely a safe ground. So See if I can connect into one of these data points. Something there, I think, but what it is, oscilloscope doesn't seem to be able to display it. Oh, maybe there's nothing there. It's just a DC little by the look of it. So I don't think we've got any digital action. It's still saying please wait, this thing. So that probably doesn't help either. So I may have to put the hard drive back in, and this other little board, Wi-Fi board. You never know with these things. But you can guarantee they will be a pain in your butt, one way or another. And it's also possible the fan or something's enough to upset it. I think I have to take the whole front off again just to get the hard drive in. It's not a very nice thing to work on. Problem with most of this modern stuff is waste a lot of time just to work on it with little hope of actually fixing it. And given the absolute ridiculous prices of spare boards and stuff, it's generally just a waste of time. So let's try and get the front back on with the hard drive in. I do have the DVD, the Blueray drive plugged in, so that's something. That actually seems to be a SATA type drive as well, interestingly. Or at least the power connection is. Maybe just to keep things standard. Now the hard drive's running. So maybe it's got to read some software of its own off the hard drive or something. And that's the worst thing about these, is the endless please wait sign on the front. Which is about all I remember for Panasonic's for these days. Not sure why all these modern things with software in them take so long to boot up. At least in the old days you just turned it on and away you went. When you had some, really small microprocessor and things, they were quick as, but get all this modern stuff and it's extremely slow to do anything, even though it's a way more powerful computer in it these days. It spends all day handshaking and checking things and messing around. It's quite a weird design, but all of them seem to do it. Oh, come on, Panasonic, get your crap together. So yes, ridiculous amount of initiation time. Java powered, that's probably our problem. Probably that Java software stuffing around for hours. Probably should just pull the hard drive and chuck the rest in the dumpster at this point, but it will be a chance to learn a little bit about HDMI. If this thing ever gets going. We'll need to have the fan in as well, who knows. I don't think anything else is unplugged, only that little connector, but who knows, maybe even that, because it's got a little chip on there. I wouldn't put it past these stupid things to communicate with each other and on some sort of I2C bus or something and check each thing and not be willing to turn on until everything's checked. Now, where did the fan plug in at? Does it actually reach that connector? Just, I think. So that can be a lot of the fun of these modern things, is just working out what you have to have plugged in to actually get the thing to boot up. Okay, let's try one more time. I've got everything plugged in. So hopefully this won't take forever to boot up. Oh, see, it's running the fan, so yeah, it tests the fan more than likely. Yeah, it's making different noises this time. It's just tested the drive, so the fan is part of the startup sequence. Unbelievable. So it basically goes through and checks each part. Oh yeah, we've got a clock now. So that's pretty typical of the sort of design of this type of junk. What I might do is put a disc in it so I know something's playing that it should be outputting video on, even though it probably has some sort of on-screen display or something. Come on. Of course it's going to take half an hour to even open the drive. Unbelievable. Is it going to do anything? Just absolutely pathetic the time these things take to do anything. Come on. 2 hours later we might actually get a signal out of this thing. It's saying D3 on the front, I don't know what that means. Oh, we're finally in play mode. Wow, that is slow. So I might get my oscilloscope probe again. Now that we've actually got this thing booted up, there is some chance that we may have a signal now. Come on. Not looking too promising. Maybe there is something there. Not really picking up much though. Some sort of minuscule signal maybe, but that doesn't amount to much. I don't think that's our digital signal. Oscilloscope showing something on the minimum setting. Just make sure on times 1 on the probe, because that does get flicked occasionally to higher setting. Yeah, I don't know what I'm picking up. That could just be some interference. I guess I could plug an actual TV in, which might give us... Oh my god, we've got we've got video now. Oh, you're kidding me. I wonder if that chip's got bad connections to it or something. That's insane. What do I do with the remote? That might help. That's actually outputting a signal now. So we've got some possibly intermittent connection somewhere. Amazing. Where did I see drive select? Blueray. There we go. Disk, SD, USB, come back. Blu-ray disc, yes, I know. Just USB, SD disc and hard drive. Oh, we've got television channels up. Even though I haven't got an antenna connected, I guess I could arrange one if I'm on the board. So whatever it is seems to have, pulling that board out has reset it. Or shouldn't have been any power on anything, I wouldn't have thought. or there's a dodgy connection on that big chip or something, as I suspect could have been the problem. Actually the channels will be different to here because my channels are tuned to a repeater here. Old contents on HDD, let's have a look. Oh yes, they've left us some local channels. So we've got the hard drive up here. Just some local channels. SBS1, the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. That seems to be run. Full of Japan in colour. Yes, that's interesting. We've got the thing working again. Well, it's been quite a while since I looked at this Panasonic Blu-ray, and I've actually had time to watch a few movies, give it a bit of a run. I think I've probably put about 12 Blu-rays and DVDs through it, mostly DVDs. I think there's been 3 or 4 Blu-rays through it. And when I first tried it, it did occasionally, just on each movie, it would just once, it would drop out the HDMI, come up with like a blank screen, and then like search for the definition again and all that sort of thing. Tried talking back and it would go again like after a few seconds. But that was using an older Sony standard definition television, and I've since given it a run through for several DVDs on a Samsung television, and it didn't miss a beat on any of those, so it seems to be working. I can't get the thing to play up. I haven't actually tried recording on it yet. That's one thing I guess I should try. And I haven't tried anything, the SD card, etc., but don't know if there's much point doing that. I can't remember if I even tried the actual tuner in this thing properly and see if it will record off that. But I don't even have a blank. I've probably got some DVD blanks, but no Blu-ray blanks. So I must try that at some stage. But as far as the actual player, for $10 it was a bargain. After just pulling it to bits and it started working, so I'm not sure what on earth, whether it was something to do with that big chip on the board, whether it still has like dodgy solder joints under that or something. But I can't get the thing to play up. All been running fine, so that's about all I'll do for the moment. I mean, if it ain't broke, I'm not going to try and fix it. It's possible this thing will die again. Probably wouldn't be game to sell this to someone or something, but just as something I want to use occasionally. Since I've only got a fairly old Blu-ray player that I scored off someone somewhere, so I still haven't even bought myself one, because I really don't watch many movies, but there's a few old 80s ones and stuff I wouldn't mind seeing again, since it's so long since I last saw them, basically since the 80s, or maybe the early 90s, so it'd be nice to watch a few old things again. So we'll call that one sort of fixed for now, bit unknown, but definitely worth pulling to bits and having a look inside one anyway, even though there's nothing much interesting in them. And yeah, the fact that it cured itself after sitting on the bench for a day, not sure what it was, whether something reset in there, or whether it is just dodgy solder that for whatever reason has behaved again, and maybe it'll keep running, maybe it'll get hot or something in the summer and decide to play up, I don't know. But anyway, it's working for now, so thanks for watching.